I am Andrew Burgess with Dolphin Image Studios. This is the deep dive into how streaming services will change in 2021. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing, and this should come as no surprise to anyone, is that more services are going to come out. If you checked out our first episode of The Dive, link in the description and in the card above, then you'll notice that the growth in services has not stopped. We have Paramount TV coming, we have Discovery coming, and we even have expansions of portfolios with Sony buying Crunchyroll. And Apple is probably going to use its cash to buy someone eventually. We just don't know who yet. Point being, these services are going to continue to grow in number and in budget. These streaming services have of course done pretty well in the pandemic on account of everyone being at home, and all the big companies are seeing it as a way to hedge their bets of something like this happening again. The next prediction that I got for 2021 is less content, but it'll be bigger. Less content, why? Because this year, 2020, we've relied on stuff produced in 2019 to come out this year. 2021, we will theoretically rely on what's been produced this year, which hasn't been much. So I think we'll be feeling that strain. We'll be feeling that gap in the industry. Now, that being said, we have to acknowledge that next year, and we'll be talking more about this, that theaters as we know them will no longer exist. And if they don't, then the films that have been saved for theaters, like your Black Widows and your Wonder Womans, they'll be going straight to the streaming services that their companies offer. Now, the financial impact, who's to say? We really only have like Mulan to look at as a reference for this kind of pivot. What remains to be seen is the cultural impact of these films. We've always had the two to compare, a box office hit and a streaming hit. They've coexisted for a little while, one longer than the other, but potentially the box office hit might be no more. And I speculate that the impact will be different if it's all streaming releases. But either way, we have to acknowledge the possibility. And in fact, I do think it's a possibility for 2021. Also for 2021, we're going to see more price variance and price options for these services. Again, acknowledging a world without theaters, it gives the streamers more flexibility to play around with how they price things and how they make money off of your subscription. So we already talked about some of the obvious options, like a theatrical release like Mulan or Black Widow or whatever, where you pay an extra $30 to see it earlier. Those type of premium buys I expect to increase as more of these tentpole films go to streaming services instead of theaters. But I think we're also going to see pretty big growth in the ad-supported streaming services catalog. We already have Peacock, we have your Roku TVs and your Plexes, which are completely free, and we're already hearing that HBO Max is going to have an ad-supported tier next year. If a lot of players like that are coming in, then the advertisers will follow. Advertisers who are just as eager to get back into business and spend money. Because of that, I think it'll be a source of growth for streamers in the coming year. Alright, the next prediction, this is again going to be no surprise, is more consolidation of the players. I don't think we're going to see anything like Disney and Fox's merger. I don't think we're going to see anything of that size. I think a lot of what's going to happen is sort of the middle class of content producers, television companies, film production companies, things like that. And the reason for that is because the new age of streaming has showed that a broad portfolio of content is what allows a company to hedge its bets. People want variety, and if you have variety, they will come. And the only way that you get a wide portfolio, a wide variety, if you will, is two ways. Number one, you build it, which is harder in the pandemic to build that portfolio, or you combine with another group, another portfolio. That way, over time, you build momentum off of what you already have. And so, for that reason, I think a lot of these mid and even small-sized companies will consolidate. Although, we never saw Disney and Fox coming, so maybe another major merger is coming. This is my way of hedging my bets. Okay, last prediction for 2021, and this is a hot one. I think that the streamers are going to buy the theater chains. Now, I get it, there are several obstacles to this, but let me explain. First of all, the obvious one, the Paramount Decree. Isn't that supposed to bar a content producer from buying an exhibitor, like a theater chain? Yes, but I'm hearing some pretty strong whispers that that's going to be going away, and so I'm not concerned about that long term. Second is that, well, it would take a lot of cash, it would take a lot of money to buy a theater chain, even if it's closed. And, well, you're right, it would take a lot of money, but I can think of a few companies, namely Disney and Amazon, who would definitely put up that cash to do that. And finally, probably one of the most obvious ones is, why would any company buy the theater chains when they were closed as a result of the pandemic? Isn't that just like buying a losing lottery ticket? Yes and no. You see, the reason why the theater chains are in the tough position they are now is because of the specific business model that they thrive in. Theater chains make money from concessions, of course, but also by taking a cut of the sales from the movies that they exhibit. This is why the tentpole films, like your Avengers and whatever, are so important to the theater business, and without them, they're in trouble. Now, what if there was no cuts to be had? What if, just to stick with the Disney example, Disney owned a theater chain where it didn't have to pay the exhibitor to exhibit its films? Yes, of course, there's the pandemic risk, but with a vaccine potentially on the way in 2021, that may be a risk that they are willing to take. That might be a gamble that Disney's willing to play with, especially when there's money to be made. Think about it. When we go to the theater, we already pay a lot for popcorn, for merchandise, and for tickets. Well, if Disney owns the theater, then all that money goes to them. And they can make it Disney merchandise. They can make it Disney-themed popcorn. They can only show Disney movies. They can show Disney TV shows. I mean, shoot, I can think of, a safer time where me and my friends would go to the theater to watch a premiere episode of The Mandalorian, and I'm sure it's crossed Disney's minds too. Anyways, is it a safe bet? No. But the entertainment business is well established for eyeing any opportunity it can to make money. And this is an opportunity to make money, no doubt about it. And that's why I think it will happen in 2021. Whew! Yeah, so those are the predictions for 2021 for the streaming business. I know that some of them are pretty risky, a lot of not safe bets here, but hey, if you feel strongly about it, let us know in the comments. I'd freely like to debate it. In the meantime, I hope everyone is well, and we'll see you in the next deep dive. Take care, everybody.